Hi, this is Bill. Well, here's the part two to the financial lockdown story. And again, because I'm not the most intelligent guy and don't have the best memory, I'm going to have to read pretty much all of this. So anyway, so this is the follow on to the previous video. So now it's December 2019 and finally the critical bills are all caught up. These were the mortgages, property taxes, utilities, insurances, and contractor bills. So then my wife, believe it or not, gives the scammer more money, and we miss a payment on the apartment building mortgage. So she was very apologetic about it again, and I told her, say, you do this again, and I'll take that over too. So, and into the new year, in February 2020, she did it again. And I took over the apartment account. Yeah, we actually got a three-way call from Home Street Bank. My wife was at home, I was at work. We're bankers up in Seattle. My wife was very contrite. She explained to banker what had happened, that she basically gave this money to the scammer and said that we would catch it up. And I told the banker, said, I'm taking over the account now, and I said I'll get it caught up by April. So that was the plan, to make this happen. So anyway, so as it turned out, at the time too, 3 of my tenants wanted to pay through Zelle, and this actually was convenient because now it directed a big part of the income actually straight into my account. So we had some major expenses in April to save for, which includes insurance on the apartment building and the property taxes on my house. At this point, I told my wife that I'll give her $500 a month for her to spend however she liked, but she was cut off from all the income sources now, and I would handle all the expenses. You know, the COVID lockdown hit our workplace in March, and we were all sent home. And although I'm pretty critical of these lockdowns, I don't think they were such a good idea, but it actually did work to our advantage. And one of them being that I was able to spend more time with my wife, and this was good for our relationship. As it turned out, although I did manage to pay the property taxes on time, I wasn't going to have enough money to pay the apartment building insurance on the due date. So my paycheck was to come 1 day later. So I called the insurance company and explained the situation, and they told me because of COVID they were granting like 90-day grace periods. So that solved that problem, and I did pay them the next day. With that out of the way, and we got the mortgage on the apartment building all caught up too. The next priority was now to try to deal with the medical debt, which I estimate was around $12,000. And we also had some credit card debt with Macy's and Home Depot. Anyway, my daughter was sent home from San Diego State in April, so she was back living with us too. So I remember we took the Lexus down there, and between her and her roommate that was also to come stay with us for a little while, we couldn't fit all her stuff in the car. And so it ended up that my daughter and her roommate actually took the Amtrak train down to LA, also with some suitcases too. I was amazed how much stuff they had. Anyway, her roommate actually lives in Brazil, that's where she's from, so a few days later she traveled there to be back with her parents. So then early May, I went to the mailbox and got a very unexpected medical bill from the hospital that actually totally put me over the edge. This was for my hernia surgery that I'd had. So anyway, I left home and went to the Colorado Bridge, and also known as Suicide Bridge, and then the police picked me up and sent me to a mental hospital in East LA. I was detained there overnight. Their psychiatrist interviewed me before letting me leave, I explained what it was going on. And can you believe this? This woman told me that I should divorce my wife. That was her recommendation to me. And I told her I was not going to do that because, my wife's not well, and she needs me. And I need her too. So, yeah, can you believe that? I mean, anyway, I got released and made my way home. One of my medical bills was from Supercare, the company that we rented this oxygen concentrator from. We owed them about $2,200, and the monthly bills were generally about $80 to $90, but my wife wasn't paying them, so the bill kind of got pretty large. So anyway, I paid them like $500 in May, and then another $500 in June. And then guess what? I get a letter from a collection agency representing them. So I called the collection agency and queried about this, and they confirmed that they were representing Supercare. So I told them that I already paid them $1,000, so you have to take that off the bill. I don't remember what they said afterwards, but I then did call Supercare and asked them why they sent this bill, or why they sent this bill to a collection agency. And because I already sent them $1,000, they acknowledged both were true, and then to add insult to injury, they kept sending me bills. So they gave me some BS answer, and I told them I will not pay them any more money, and I was just going to deal with the collection agency from here on. So later on, I called the collection agency, and they let me settle the bill for about $350. By the way, I did not understand how collection agencies work then, but I do now. Basically, what they do is they purchase debt, basically, from a company that is being owed at a pretty heavy discount, and then they try to collect on it. So this is why they will settle for quite a bit less in most cases. So anyway, for example, they may have purchased the Supercare debt maybe for $200 or something, I don't know. But the fact that Supercare sold this debt to the agency and then still tried to collect it from me seems really unethical. So I hate this company. Don't ever do business with them. That's my feeling. And then a new crisis hit. My wife's teeth were failing and she needed to have implants. Like the whole upper part of her mouth had to be replaced and some work on the bottom. And this was going to cost $37,000. And we didn't have just didn't have that kind of money. But after some deliberation, I decided, well, yeah, let's pull $35,000 from my retirement savings. I know you're not supposed to do this, but be it what we did. The CARES Act let me do that. So, and I also had $2,000 in savings. So with the $35,000 and the $2,000, that made up the $37,000 we owed them. So for the rest of the year, we soldiered on, paying off medical debt and kept up with the other bills. One of them being the Mazda broke down again. With the transmission problem. I talked to the dealer and explained what I'd done, and the part I put in had failed, and they basically put a factory equivalent part in, and they also did the brakes, and the cost was about $1,500. And while it was disappointing that my repair attempt didn't last, similar to what happened to my Toyota last month, it did at least buy us about 8 months of time, and that was actually very useful to us because we did not have $1,000 in January of the beginning of the year. So, yeah, along the same lines, I had the same thing happen at the apartment building with a water heater. I put it in probably in 2018 or something like that, and it failed prematurely. Again, because we were much tighter on money back then. So anyway, I called the plumber to replace it, and he said I bought a cheap, low-quality water heater. And the funny thing is, the reason why I bought this one really had nothing to do with price. It all seemed to be the same, but the local hardware store said they could deliver it for $10, whereas the other places were going to charge like maybe $80, $90. So that's the only reason why I bought that one. It wasn't really the cost of the heater so much. It was the delivery aspect of it. But anyway, so be it. I screwed that one up too, I guess. So during the year, I applied for a Ralph's credit card with a $500 limit to get the fuel points because, we buy food there. Guess what? I was denied for having too low a credit score. So I kept the letter as a memento. It will go down in infamy. So here is a graphic of our finances up until 2023. With the tracking program, you can see I've made some improvements to it since that earlier version I showed. It's all got nice colors, and each year has got its own color, and they're overlaid, so you can see how the progress looks from year to year more easily. So as you can see, 2019 and 2020 were pretty tight years. We got the Macy's credit card paid off that year, and then Macy's downgraded our card from platinum to silver because we hadn't spent $1,000 in the stores the past year. Going into 2021, it looked like we were finally about to pull out from the financial austerity, and then another problem hit. My wife needed full implants on the bottom in addition to the top, and that was going to cost an additional $17,000, and they wanted $11,000 up front. And so anyway, we went to the dental office in January, and when I wrote the check out for them, I think that it actually impressed my wife. Because, sorry, it kind of makes me emotional thinking about this. As harsh as the financial lockdown was, I think she finally appreciated why it had to be done. As I say, the scammer was out of our lives now, and my wife had nothing more to do with him. I think she now put faith in me instead of that scammer, despite all my shortcomings. This 11K bill did take quite a while to recover from, especially since April is always a tough month to get through. And at the end of April 2021, my account actually hit its lowest point ever, $1.75. That's that point right there. Yeah, I'm sorry, right there, right in the green, yeah. But because I was tracking the money very carefully, everything was under control. I mean, basically, it was a triple check system because I have my handwritten check ledgers and the bank statements and this program all had to be in balance before I move on with this. So, and I never did bounce a check. So anyway, during April, we had an awesome house guest stay with us for 3 weeks. His name is John Kingston, also known as JPK Experience on social media if you want to check him out. And he called himself a digital nomad. It was a holistic health practitioner. He got to meet my wife, and my wife was getting better too. And was eating dinner with us downstairs for the first time in years. We actually had a pretty good time together. And then in May 2021 was the most tragic month of all. My wife and I were sitting down at the breakfast area, and we were looking at oxygen concentrators we could buy. And for about $900, we could buy one, and I did. I just ordered one online. This made my wife very happy, and we got Supercare out of our lives for good. She hated them as much as I did. The new machine was delivered, and it was much nicer and quieter. And then 3 days later, I was working in my backyard and getting rid of patio furniture for a trash pickup the next day, and my wife made me some grilled cheese sandwiches. Probably the first time that had happened in years. And my wife would regularly stay up until about 3 or 4 in the morning and watch shopping channels. That night was no exception. But she did fall out of bed. This has happened before too, not too often, but she did fall out of bed, and I helped her back into bed. She's a much heavier person than I am, so it was a challenge, but I managed. I was amazed at how fast she fell off to sleep, though, when she was back in bed. I got up the next morning and went about my work. And she would routinely sleep until about 2 p.m. And I would wake her up because, it's when she kind of needed to be woke up. Anyway, so May 20th was no exception, except this time she didn't wake up and had passed away 10 days after her birthday, her 62nd birthday. I was in shock and disbelief. She seemed to be getting better too, but I wonder if the financial stress of the last 2 years was just too much to handle. I hope I had done the right thing by partially taking over the finances the way I did. I know she saw this as her contribution to our family, and I took that away from her. But she always acknowledged that she deserved it. I know that she was, I know she was suffering from dementia too. Worse than I realized. So, and then here's one thing. I'm not scripting this, but I can understand how easy it can get caught up in scammers, because then I did the same thing in beginning of 2023. I'll be right here. This is read as the 2023 spending, and then I gave Aptera, I got scammed by Aptera. I gave them $10,000 thinking it would get me a cool electric car to an incompetent company, and I guess I didn't think it was a scam, at least not until now. They're doing this crowdfunding thing again when they need $200 million, knowing full well they're only going to probably get 10 from this round of stuff they're doing. And I've fallen for a scammer too now. And my wife forgives me for this. I'll never do this again. I mean, some of this stuff is so sleazy. I mean, there's a YouTube channel called Aptera's Owners Club, which I'm going to call out here, not in a positive way. There's another person following the Aptera stories. His channel is Modern Sunlight, and again he was talking about how badly run this company is, and then this Steve of Aptera's Owners Club had the gall to offer this guy $100 for his 2,500 shares in the company. And I mean, which he probably paid like $25,000 for those shares. And I found that really disgusting. I mean, here's a guy who's making a ton of money off YouTube promoting Aptera, and he does shit like that. Yeah, and I've kind of said that, I'm just waiting for when Aptera goes down, he'll probably flip his channel's name to something like Tello's Owners Club or Slate's Owners Club as he moves on to the next project. So I realize this is a bit off topic, but I feel it's relevant here. It's so easy to get caught up in scams. And it's one of those things that seems to be fully legalized in this country, because nobody prosecutes these people. Like in the case of my wife, the guy involved in this, his name is David Sawyer. You can look him up on the internet and everyone will tell you it's a big scam, but nobody goes after him. The criminal justice department of this country just lets these people scam away. It's fully legalized in this country, as far as I'm concerned, and I think that's wrong. Anyway, that's all I have for today. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe. It helps me with my low self-esteem. And until next time, have a nice Saturday afternoon. Bye-bye.